In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. Dozens of books, including classics like To Kill a Mockingbird, are back on the shelves of one Central Texas school district. Leander ISD pulled them out temporarily to make sure they complied with a new state law. Daniel Perot shows us how districts across the state are trying to comply with Senate Bill 12.
American literary classics in the crosshairs as Texas school districts navigate compliance with Senate Bill 12.
We're not in a normal moment.
Last month, Leander ISD pulled 40 books from middle and high schoolers, including titles like To Kill a Mockingbird, the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, and Les Mis.
It's To Kill a Mockingbird, a classic. All of us have read that when we were growing up, and it was a really important piece of fiction.
The district used a screening process to identify books that may violate SB 12, which became law in September. It prohibits diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in K-12 schools and limits discussions related to sexual orientation and gender identity. Conservative group Texas Values, which supported SB 12, believes the district overcorrected.
They actually help us understand a positive message of our country and how we can come together and correct wrongs and work together.
After review, Leander ISD says 36 of the 40 books are now back in the classroom. 4 are still under review.
These types of books clearly should be left out of the curriculum and are exactly what Senate Bill 12 are about.
The district says it remains committed to offering rich literary experiences while also ensuring instructional materials align with current state laws. Retired school librarian Carolyn Foote says these are stories kids should be reading, and pulling them tells students their own stories don't matter.
That's a terrible message to send students, high school students, who are already struggling with their own identities and belongings.
This week is Banned Books Week. Stores like Half Price Books are celebrating titles that are commonly challenged.
I think that now it's more scary than ever because even more books are being banned.
PEN America says 6,870 book bans were enacted last school year in 23 states and 87 public school districts.
If you are supporting freedom of speech, you have to carry all books.
Daniel Perot reporting. There is an ongoing lawsuit challenging key aspects of Senate Bill 12. It is still working its way through the courts. Leander isn't the only school district having discussions about books in libraries. Later this month, trustees with Georgetown ISD will vote on more than 200 new library books. It's part of a new state law that requires school boards to approve all library materials before they're purchased or donated. Districts must post the book lists publicly for 30 days before the board votes. At a board workshop last night, Georgetown ISD officials say they'll repeat this process monthly, calling it a heavy lift, but required by law. The community can review and comment on proposed books on the district's website. The board votes October 20th. A growing Central Texas city is dealing with a shortage of bus drivers. So Manor ISD is trying to get more people behind the wheel. Manor ISD administrators say they have enough money to hire drivers, but they're having a hard time with recruitment. Kelsey Sanchez spoke to drivers and district officials who are dealing with the issue that's making kids late to school or getting home.
This is Wendy Hastings, but to the students she picks up, she's known as Miss Wendy.
Seeing them in the mornings and they get so excited coming on the bus. They're like, Miss Wendy, we're so happy to see you. I get hugs every morning as they're getting off the bus. So it's great to build those relationships.
Hastings has been driving for Manor ISD for 5 years. And in that time, she's faced her fair share of hurdles.
We're asked most times to help, double up on routes. Which can be a challenge because, our priority is to get these kids to and from school, and we want to do it safely and timely.
It's a problem district officials say they're trying to fix by getting more drivers behind the wheel.
The parents is getting frustrated. They call us and say, my student is being on the stop for 10 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, and it's totally understandable, but it's an issue that we're dealing daily.
Manor ISD is short 10 drivers. Right now, they have roughly 49 drivers on staff and 4 on family or medical leave. The district's transportation director, Fernanda Travialante, says they hope to fill the gap to avoid more delays.
I take great pride of what I do, and I want to provide a high-level service to all our students, our parents.
In the meantime, drivers like Miss Wendy say they'll keep doing their part to keep students in the loop while she gets them from point A to point B.
So it's just really communication and letting these kids know, hey, I'm going to do my best to get you home safely. It might be a little bit later than normal, but we're going to get you there.
Kelsey Sanchez reporting the district is hiring drivers with commercial driver's license, but also offering training to help drivers get the CDLs. The Texas Education Agency now has a new tool to help support homeless students across the state. TEA leaders announced the launch of a new support hotline. Parents who can get connected with trained experts who can get their child enrolled in school. Educators can also call for guidance on how to support their students. In addition to the hotline, the agency now has an online form for people to submit questions and requests. The hotline number and the website are listed on your screen right now. A new report shows Austin is making progress in fighting homelessness. The Ending Community Homelessness Coalition released its 2025 State of the System report this morning, showing the city's homelessness response system is growing and becoming more efficient. The number of people who became homeless decreased for the first time in 5 years. More than 3,000 people found permanent housing in 2024, up nearly 400 from the previous year. The wait time between completing a housing assessment and moving into a place to live also dropped by nearly 4 months. The report shows the homeless response system has grown by 108% since 2019, with more shelter beds and permanent supportive housing units available. But city leaders say there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
But if we stop now, we're going to regress. And so we have to keep going. We have to remain diligent and disciplined and persistent in our pursuit of getting people off the streets.
Despite these successes, there are still some challenges that remain. The median wait time is still close to a year, and disparities exist among Black people, older adults with disabilities, and survivors of domestic violence. City and county leaders say they need continued investment to keep making progress. The Texas Agriculture Commissioner is speaking out after another case of a potentially catastrophic parasite was spotted in Mexico. Reuters reports the New World screwworm was discovered in Montemorelos, a community around 100 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. It can infect the tissue or flesh of animals like cattle, deer, pets, and even humans. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller says officials need to act to keep it from devastating the Texas cattle industry. He says the state and federal government should get on board with deploying pesticide bait, which he says could help eradicate the screwworm. In a statement, Miller says, quote, "This isn't just a livestock issue. It's about protecting Texas jobs, rural communities, and our agricultural lifeblood," end quote. Those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Mark Mullins.